My career started off as a special education teacher. When my students found out that there were kids in this world that did not have the right to go to school, inspired them. The concept behind the Haiti School Building Project was a small handful of youth in Toronto would help a small handful of youth here in Haiti. The Haiti School Building Project finally opened up last year, September 2018. It has successfully been running for 7 months now, and what I have seen is nothing shy of beautiful. One person with the support of others can literally transform the planet.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Barbara.
Just like you looked up like we're here. We're on live. We're live.
Yeah. I was just, fixing my clothes.
Fixing the girlies. My mother
ladies.
The ladies. When I used to say the ladies, I was like, okay. I said, what ladies? I used to say, Mom, what ladies you have? She said, I was like, oh, okay. She said, love her to death. Love her to death.
How are you doing this evening, Miss Queen?
I'm doing awesome, Miss Queen, and I'm so happy we're back again with the Help Heal Humanity Show with co-hosts Mrs. Serena Bufalino and Mrs. Barbara Beckley. And we come every Thursday. I don't think we really missed too many Thursdays so far. It's been, 3-4 months? Wait a minute. Yeah, we started in May. We almost 5 months.
That's a long time.
We got an anniversary.
Yeah, we'll have a 6-month anniversary party.
Oh, that's a good. Let me put that down. I like that. That's a good idea. I think that's good. We could bring some people on again and have a party online. That's awesome. Yay.
That would be cool, right? Just
I want to get them ready.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
I'm going to reach out. But today, as we always do, I want to, because some people, there might be their first time watching the show. And just to let you know, my name, again, Barbara Beckley, and I basically am part of a volunteer for the wonderful Help Humanity nonprofit organization, which is Mrs. Serena. She is the queen. She's a CEO. She's just an angel. And she's the one that put in her heart to start this. And I just fell in love with the organization, but truly I fell in love with Serena because I just love her heart and her soul. And I just was drawn to say, okay, I got to be a volunteer. I got to help somewhere, even if it's just calling her every day saying, you're awesome. So I just love, being a part of this organization. And I could just say it over and over again, every day, all day. And I'm going to let Serena introduce herself. At least you know who she is, besides being awesome.
And I want to say thank you, Barbara, because, to you, it might not seem a lot because you're committed to service and you're committed to doing the work. But in the world of charity, it is really difficult to find loyal, committed volunteers. So you are always there. Don't say you have been there for everything. You have promoted us. You have done fundraisers for us. You've gotten other networks to do fundraisers for us. You've picked up for the podcast. You pick up for social media, like whatever it is. If Serena's stressed, Barbara's always there trying to, what do you need? If I don't know how to do it, I'm going to figure it out. Right. And so I really appreciate you and your heart and your compassion and, just thank you for everything because you really are special in so many ways. And I don't know if you know how special you are. So
I love you. Make me cry. Don't do that.
And we all love you, you know. When the board met you, they're like, you know, some of the members had been there for much longer than you, and you came in and you were like, blah, 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 blah.
I hope I did. Yeah, I had a back. I'm like, okay, Barbara, calm down.
Yeah.
But no, I love all the board members and you and what we're doing. And you know, that just touches my heart. You just don't know how much it touches my heart. I know every day we're working, we're doing things, we're texting each other, we're trying to make things, move. But when we sit back and pause, and when you say say that, Serena, I just, you just don't know. I told people, I said, you're my sister. I look Serena as my sister, my family too. And because I don't have no brothers and sisters. So I'm just going to just pick them.
I don't mind. You're a great soul sister. And, you see me because I put my heart and soul into this, and sometimes I let my emotions get the better of me, and I think it's just because I've never really understood the concept of like clear throat cutting people and businesses, and I don't get that. Everything for me is heart and love, and I know sometimes it's not like that in the business world, and so you also see me get tired and frustrated, and you are always such an incredible support. So if anything, sometimes I just call you to cry, to vent, and you always got my back, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. So it's funny because now you're going to talk, because the first half, like I tell people, just to explain, we talk more about nonprofit organizations, how they work, operate. Serena being a CEO for a long time, she's given us tips and little things that we can think about if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit or a foundation. And you're kind of going into what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight before we bring on our spotlight guest nonprofit tonight, is understanding about the ups and downs. And I wanted to, I know you're like, okay, how much time we have, right? The ups and downs. And I want you to pull the curtain back a little bit, Serena, because I just feel like everything's not going to be rosy, but that's okay. That's okay, because that's just life. I mean, in our own lives, personal lives, we got the ups and downs. So I just wanted you to kind of just share, and then how you like you said, handled it when it comes to being over a nonprofit and the day-to-day, and how you deal with those flows.
Yeah, most definitely. It's quite funny that you say that, because lately my vocabulary has been, I'm riding a roller coaster that I don't really want to be on right now. And I'm saying that just because it was a rather difficult, and has been a difficult couple months. And that's just, first I'll start off by saying I've been speaking to a lot of my mentors who are like business owners, doing extremely well in the financial world, thriving businesses. And I always check in with them to mentor me, to guide me, to help me. And they always they're telling me, in this point in time, especially since COVID, it's impossible to find good workers right now. I think a lot of the population, got used to being at home, and got used to, at least here in Canada, the government was giving funding to people who were not working. And so I don't want to stereotype or generalize, but a lot of people were, throughout COVID, getting some type of an income to stay at home. And so now that, life is returning somewhat back to normal, my friends who own thriving businesses are telling me they're having a hard time getting their employees who are paid to do the work. Now, help heal humanity, I'd say, part of the roller coaster ride from day one is not having the ability at this present time to be paying employees. And that's including myself as the CEO. So we are really, really, really depending on volunteers to help us. And also, we touched upon this in previous shows about your board members, right? And there's various types of board members. There are board members who basically make all the decisions but don't do the work. And Help Heal Humanity, we are an active board. So we need the board members to step up and do the work, right? And again, this is, everyone's busy. Everyone's, trying to get through their work life, their family life, their responsibilities, and then they take on HHH. And as a volunteer-based charity, we kind of expect a lot from our volunteers, because our volunteers and our board members, they make up the charity. Although I'd like to say I'm the CEO and the founder and I make all the decisions, that's absolutely not true. When you have a charity, when you have a board of directors, your board of directors make the decisions, and I am just there to hopefully oversee that stuff is happening. And we've had a lot of turnover, and some of the turnover, I will admit 100%, has been because of me, and some of it's just been because people don't have the time or don't realize the commitment, and that's the difficult part is, we're working in a team. There's 5 of us, 6 of us, 7 of us, 8 of us, whatever the number is. And if everybody is delegated a job and we're all working towards the same thing, when 2, 3 people don't do their part of the job, it slows down the whole team, and then it slows down everything. And so that, that to me is the hardest part. And of course, the roller coaster ride of fundraising, especially during these times. So it's been a lot, but go ahead. Yes.
No. I was just, I'm going to stop. Just want to pause for a second to get back to what you said about volunteers and the board and the highs and lows of that, where you're going to go through turnover even more so than just having like a regular job or organization that they're paying people. You're going to have that turnover more because, like you said, it is volunteer. So at any point in time, they can volunteer for 2 or 3 days. The 4th day, they might turn around and say, "Hey, Serena, you know what?" You'll be like, "What? I'm done." And then they can, and then that's it. And then you're like, "Ooh, okay, that project is, So, learning, and I've been working with you. I think it's been maybe 3 months or 4 months now that I think I've been coming in, after I came in and said, I just want to help it where I can. I've been seeing that. Yeah. And learning how I had to give you, I'm commending you right now of how to handle that in the midst of trying to do this campaign that we're doing. That we're needed for the children to go back to school, and and doing all the different events you're thinking about, and then trying to look to fundraisers and how to any way in top of thinking about your board and your volunteers and make sure they're sticking and they're okay and they're happy and they're going to do what they need to do. So, but I have to say, you have to have a lot of different hats on as being, like you said, that overseer. Yeah.
And that's where I say, like, of course, I'm never going to sit here and say I'm perfect or I have it figured out, because that's absolutely not the case. So I can admit where I do wrong and where I've made my mistakes. But the one thing that I know for sure as a leader is I'm very loyal, I'm very committed, and I'm super determined. And what I think sometimes what I need to understand is that most people are never going to have the work ethic that I do or the drive that I do, because I've been on the grounds for so many years and I've seen the work and I see the results. And I think and I think anybody, whether it's, paid employees or not, is we have to give a lot more gratitude to the people who are showing up. And sometimes I think because I feel so much pressure is on myself, or I have so much responsibility, or my to-do list is too long, that I sometimes forget to give the gratitude that people deserve. And because I have super high expectations, I can easily be let down because I sometimes have unrealistic goals, and I will say, Barbara, when I was a special education teacher, which was eventually what led to Help Heal Humanity, right? Because for the viewers that are watching, I never had a desire to build a charity. It kind of happened in my classroom as a special education teacher, and I've been learning as I go, and we've been growing as we go. And like you said, and there's been a roller coaster, and I just thank the people who are brave enough to ride the ride together, right? And not get off at certain stops and never come back, right?
That has happened too, where they're on the roller coaster, they're like, wee, and then the stops for a minute, like, bye, and you're like,
and then all of a sudden the roller coaster went right off the track, and we never saw them again, right?
It's like, where did they go? I mean, like, Serena, where'd they go? Who? Where they at? Yeah. So but see, like I said, going back to how you handle things, and I'm glad you said, because none of us is perfect.
No.
We all make the mistakes. I don't even probably even count how many mistakes I made today alone, just to this day. This is a Thursday, and this is just Thursday, and all the other ones. And, it's glad. I always tell people, when you're working with a group, when you're working with volunteers, anything, just own it. If it's something that you did or whatever, apologize, and hopefully they accept it. And then, you move on and say, okay, let's see what we could do differently, than what we did before. So communication, and maybe, just talk a little about that. Communication, I believe, for anything is the key.
And now, just before we get on the communication, what I wanted to say about having high expectations is, in my classroom as a special education teacher, teaching some of the most at-risk youth that were not functioning in mainstream school, superintendents and principals would always tell me, lower your expectations, lower your expectations. And I used to get so upset because I would say, like, I'm not lowering my expectations. I will deliver my message in multiple ways until they understand it, because I am not demeaning a person's worth and or capability, right? And so I always have the high expectations, because I really do believe that with hard work and determination, we can achieve anything. It's, having the belief in yourself and putting in the work. And so that's why I do have these high expectations. And again, it's the expectation that, like, the board belongs to the charity belongs to the board. So we are all equal members of that board, right? And that's why I think sometimes I get maybe a little bit hurt and or upset, is because we are equally important, all of us. Nobody is more superior than the other. Nobody is getting paid. And so if everybody did their job or their role, then things would flow so much better. And I think sometimes there's that pressure on me as the CEO to figure it all out. And again, that's where the communication lies. I mean, communication is key. Communication is key to any relationships, friendships, business relationship, volunteers, board members. And it's taking me a long time to learn, to be open and transparent and to just tell it how it is.
Yeah. And like you said, Serena, I was just going up communication again, is I always say too, which helped me a lot in some other past projects I've been on, and then I see also in the nonprofit, is always ask the volunteer, who's ever, first of all, you find out what they like to do, what they're good at, what their genius is, I always say. And then you find out, okay, this is what you like to do. We have something that we would love for you to work on, because we always could have used something for that. And then ask them the time. Ask them, okay, how much time can you commit? Realistically, not just to say because you love Serena, but you want to say it, be honest with yourself, and how much time. And I always stress that, because, we get caught up in that, oh, I just want to do this. And Serena, I'll be doing this and I'll do 20 hours of stuff. And then 2 days pass and you're like, where they at?
Yeah. No, and that's true. Like, I mean, I don't know what to say to everybody except for, never give up on yourself, never give up on the belief of what you're doing. Always have to remember that what you're doing is not about you. It's about the communities and the people that you're serving. And again, that communication piece, like, in the first and second year, I realized, okay, I see, who's committed, who's not committed. I see who's invested, who's not, who's putting in the work. And so then when either their term is up or they just, COVID hit us hard. We had a lot of parents on our board who just now had stay-at-home teachers, moms, business workers. And so obviously the charity came last on their list, and we lost some incredible people. So when it was time to do the rehiring or finding the new team, I mean, we were very adamant in our interviews, like, what is your skill set? What is your bandwidth? How many hours are you committed to? Will you sign up for this? We have them sign onboarding papers. We have like the terms and the conditions. And again, it doesn't always go that way. It doesn't. And as a volunteer-based charity, it's exceptionally hard, right, to hold people accountable or you do hold them accountable, but after so many times you can't. And that's, how do you do that? How do you say, like, thank you for volunteering, but you're not doing enough, or thank you for volunteering, but you didn't do that right? So, the way in which we communicate is so effective. And again, when it's a volunteer-based situation, it's extra cautious in how you approach that situation, because they're just there giving their time and their energy. And if they're not enjoying the flow and the process of giving their time and energy, they're going to say, I'm not doing this. Like, this is too much work.
Yeah.
So, that's why I always, and people always say, choose your board wisely. Right.
I'm glad you got one of the key points. I wanted you to bring that out because it is very important. And the thing, add to that about choose your board wisely, is make sure not just the board, but the volunteers, anybody that's helping, has a buy-in on what the ultimate goal is.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to use a prime example of this. And I know you know this already, Serena, that if you don't believe, I don't care if you're a volunteer or not a volunteer, if you don't believe what the person or the organization is trying to do, then it's going to be a little difficult for you to start, being accountable for certain things that's going on. And don't do it just because of a person. And I'm using that example because I had a problem just 2 months ago where I'm part of another organization, and I needed an officer, to fill an officer's role. And they were like, I told them, everybody about it. And they were like, oh, Barbara, yes, I'll do it. Yes. And everything. Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wonderful. Like, so I'm like, oh, it is a volunteer too. And then after a month, even before we started the new term, they said, you know what? I really was doing this, to be honest with you, Barbara, for you, because I love you. I appreciate you so much. And I know you needed the help, but I don't think this is going to work because I'm seeing this. And I was like, and I said, you know what? This is a lesson learned for both of us. And that's what I told them when I communicated. I said, the lesson is never do something just for that individual.
Yeah.
Do it because you truly believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because then any little excuse will do after that. Yeah. If so I always tell people, you know what? You love me by loving me, be true and say, no, I'm not going to do it. If you're really not going to do it.
I think, Barbara, you've heard me say in some of the meetings, like, I will have more respect for you if you authentically say, I'm not available and I can't do this, than put your name beside something and not do it. Yes, And so, I'm even thinking, like, in one of our next meetings, like, just to maybe get some feedback from the board on how I can maybe be better, right? And how can I improve the way that I'm approaching you? Because again, I want our volunteers to be happy, but I also need, and I think everybody who's in this field of work, we need commitment and we need loyalty, right? And so how do you go about doing that in an effective way?
And I think that's a good, I need to cut you off, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's really good, because I always tell people to audit. Sometimes you got to audit yourself. And you're kind of saying that because I do that because I'm a leader in other areas too. And I always ask the people that I'm working with, say, you know what, audit me. Tell me good and bad and ugly, because I need to know, because I'm growing and sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. So and I'll admit that. I said, I'm a leader. I want to help you. The value is to help you, all of us, to come together and do what we need to do. But if I'm doing something wrong, then let me know, and that's good to say that. And then us as leaders, you're a leader. You got to take it in and say, okay, I want to hear everything, and don't take it personal, and don't take it personal.
And that's and that's the key is, you keep your eyes on the mission, you keep your eyes on fulfilling your mission and your goals and your strategic plans, and you just pray to God, universe, higher power, source, that the right people come in and help fulfill that goal with you. And that's where the roller coaster comes, because people come, people go, people commit and then don't do the work, or some people overly commit, and that's not fair either. I've seen it. I've seen incredible people come to the board. They think there's 10 people working, and then like 4 people are doing the majority of the work, and then they get fatigued and burnt out, and then they just, and again, you don't want to be hostile. You don't want to be angry. Sometimes I'm like, I'm a bully humanitarian.
Sorry.
Right? because again, I want to hold everybody, like when I see your resumes and when I hear you speak and I see what you're able to produce, and then I want you to produce that for our charity, and then it doesn't happen, I get upset about it, and that I shouldn't. I really shouldn't, I should appreciate and love everyone. So it's a learning process for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is who's committed to go for the ride with you, because especially in this day and age and what's happening in our world right now, charity is like the last thing on people's mind.
And that's,
And that's it. People can't commit to even, finding enough maybe resources for food, to pay bills, for safe living, for maybe even a little bit of a social life. So if you don't have the bare minimals and you're not really able to thrive, how are you going to give to charity? So it's a bit of a hustle. It's a constant hustle. I mean, I'm a little bit shocked right now, as you mentioned earlier, and we can close here because I know coming on.
We're going to bring our wonderful nonprofit spotlight guest on in a second here. But I just wanted to close out our conversation by saying that, no matter what, overall, it's very refreshing to be part of a nonprofit, because I always say world changers. You hear me say that a lot, that we are anything that you do. I don't care what, even if you're just, organizing something, or even if you're just, setting the time for the meeting for the nonprofit board meeting, whatever. Yeah. Everything that you do is meant for something great in what you're doing. Yeah. So I always want to tell people, whatever you do is appreciated.
Yeah. And when it comes to I mean, it's you're doing it with extreme purpose. And, I've learned this only through my own story, but I would have never, even to this day, believe it if I didn't experience how every little thing counts. Like literally every little thing makes a big difference, and every little step just allows us to grow and keep our momentum. And we're doing our $100,000 campaign very quickly, and this is the first year I can say it's been harder than ever to get the donations, like much harder than ever. And that that's scary, but we just keep going.
We're going to keep going, keep believing, keep pushing on. Yes. So with that, we're going to bring on, I want to make sure I introduce our next guest, and then we're going to have a little love for our sponsor, and then we're going to have her come on. So Mrs. Trish Shellabert, she is the nonprofit. She serves as deployed military, ensuring everyone receives, and cut off my miraculous. She's the founder of ASH. And they focus on simple act of serving and needing populations and providing opportunities of all ages and abilities to participate. 15 years, a leap of faith. Awesome. See, I'm telling you, I feel like every nonprofit is just a little seed dropped everywhere to grow this wonderful world of what we live in, to show people that you need to start caring more. So we're going to bring on Mrs. Trish once after we give our sponsor a little love. Here we go.
And although it may seem a little mundane, packing up boxes and, being on the assembly line, what we're really doing is putting in hundreds of hours into the people on the streets who need us. And they need us in a way that none of us will ever understand. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been on the grounds every day. They know we're coming today, they know we're coming tomorrow, and they look forward to seeing us, because we're the one little bit of hope that they have, to have a warm meal in their bellies, and to know that somebody in the world is actually caring for them and loving them. And without people like you showing up today to give your time, your energy, and your spirit, none of this is possible. So I want to really say thank you to everyone, because what we're doing here today may seem small, but it's actually really, really big, and it's impacting hundreds and thousands of families. So I thank you, I love you, I look forward to doing this with you today.
My name is Serena Bufalino, and I am the founder of Help Heal Humanity. Help Heal Humanity is a charity that is focused on unconditional giving, love, and support to some of the most vulnerable communities in the world.
Hello, wonderful Trish.
Hi there. How are you?
How you doing, lady?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for being one of our Spotlight nonprofit. Yeah. So this is Serena. You probably heard us talking earlier, but this is Serena Bufalino. She is the founder of Help Heal Humanity, and we created a show around that. So it's nice to see you.
It is such an awesome thing. And the one thing that I picked up when you said, Serena, is that every little bit counts. I look at it as a puzzle. And so all the pieces need to come together. And there may be just that one little piece that someone thinks it doesn't really count, but that's the missing piece.
Yeah.
So it's lovely that you have a platform just to highlight good projects and good news, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love the puzzle thing. That's nice, Trish. I'm going to use that.
You feel free.
That is awesome. I like that part of it. So Trish, before me and Serena start, because we can talk and we'll get into some questions and stuff, but first we want you to pull the curtain, tell us about your organization and why you started it, and just showing the love to you and your organization.
Well, thanks. So when I said it was a leap of faith, completely. So it started actually on an airplane. So I was in Dallas, Texas, trying to fly to Philadelphia, and there's storms going through the area. And so the airport had been shut down, and all the standby lines are growing, and they're growing. They actually asked if I'd be willing to get off the flight, and I declined. At that time, our children were really young, and I knew if I did not go home, I probably shouldn't go home. You know what I mean? So, and earlier in that week, I had changed my seat on this flight. Okay, so 3.5 hours late, we finally board on this flight, and there's one empty seat on this overbooked flight. And it happened to be next to me. So I am by the window, the middle seat's empty, and next to me is this young man who reminded me very much of Opie on the Andy Griffith Show. You know who I'm talking about? No, I know you did, Serena. Ron Howard, a really young Ron Howard.
Yeah.
He was really short hair, fair skin, very polite. He was, had great manners. We put ourselves in the middle seat, and then we started talking. And pretty early on, I noticed that his hands were a mess. So the top parts were sunburned, and his palms had these like quarter-size whelps. They were so painful. And so I got him hand cream, something so small, right? And because that middle seat was empty, we talked. And he shared that he was attending Auburn University on an ROTC scholarship. His number had been called. They were in Fort Hood, Texas, trying to get acclimated to the heat, hence his hands. And he was on his way to Iraq at 19.
Wow.
And he shared, he said, I am faithful. He said, I'm third generation military. So I understand as much as I can understand as a 19-year-old. I get it. He said, I'm not afraid of dying. He said, but what I'm afraid of is the sun and the heat. And he holds up his hands and he said, I can't handle Texas. How am I going to handle Iraq?
Wow.
So I said, I'll take care of you. I'll send you stuff. And he said to me, which is why 15 years later, we're still doing this. This is what he says, this 19-year-old, okay? he said, I appreciate that. He said, but I can't accept something from you knowing that not everyone's going to get a mail call.
Oh.
And I said, okay, so how many's in your unit? And he said 177. And I thought, yeah. Well, I'm not going to say what I thought, but I said, you know, I have no idea how this is going to happen. But I promise you that it will. I promise you that I will take care of your unit. I don't come from a military background. The language, the jargon, it's all new.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home and I shared with my husband what I committed to. And his first response was, I think I need to travel with you next time. No traveling alone.
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, let's go. Let's get busy. And so I told everyone I knew, I said, you got to help me keep this promise to this young man.
Wow.
What a good story.
Hang on a minute. Thanksgiving Day, 2007, I get an email from him. And he said, today is the best day in Iraq. He said, I got to be Santa Claus. And I handed out a care package because we individually wrapped it. We want it to be a gift. So, and everyone got a gift. And he said, you have to know that they're old grown men, meaning my age, crying because they had never received a mail call.
Oh, wow.
So it was a group from Alabama. They left Alabama in March, and now it's November, and they hadn't received a card. They had received nothing.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, so we did it again. And then the word got out, and then it was that domino. And we just kept going with it. And in 2013, another gentleman from Fort Hood, Texas, I don't know about these Texas men, he said, you know, I hear you send care packages. Could you help us? And I said, how many is in your unit? And he said, oh, honey, with this real thick accent, you better sit down. And so I sat down, and he said, it's a battalion of 800.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And so I said, you know, I can't commit to that. And so I went back to all those people, all those volunteers, all those people that made a donation. And I said, what do you think? And they said, with God, all things are possible. Don't worry how. Let's just get going. The need's there.
Yeah.
You have the contact. Let's just get going. And so I thought at that point that was going to be the end because my mind couldn't think of anything bigger. But my faith says there's much bigger out there. And so that's when we became an official 501c3. And so to date, we've sent over 20,000 individually wrapped care packages.
Wow.
And that's absolutely incredible. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And I love that, you know.
Oh, my God.
Not knowing how it's going to happen, but having the faith and the trust and sharing your story, and then organically it formed is a beautiful story. I'm curious to know what is in your care packages.
Sure. So we use products that are made in America. I think that's important. And so we have partnered with a couple of companies, Badger Balm, and it's a family-owned business in New Hampshire, and O'Keefe's, which was bought by Gorilla Glue. So they give us a discount on the products. So we send hand cream because that's where it all started. An SPF, a lip balm that has SPF. We send a star, which I can't believe I don't even have one in my desk. But so what we do is we get retired flags and we cut out the star. We put it in with a card, and on that card it says, I used to fly on an American flag. I can no longer fly because the sun and wind have caused me to become torn and tattered. Please carry this as a reminder you're not forgotten. So every care package gets that.
Right.
It gets a handwritten letter from someone. So we get letters from all over the country from people of all ages and abilities. And then hard candy because we all love candy, right? Yeah. And then that gets tied with tissue paper and a ribbon, and I make sure that ribbon is curled. So, when you get a gift and that ribbon's curled, they went that extra, just that extra step.
A little, yeah.
I want them to know that this is a gift and this gift is for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. So now, Trish, is that why it's called a soldier's hands? Because how it started?
Yes. Yes.
I was wondering.
So Barbara, this is funny. So when we decided to do that battalion, I'm sitting across the way with one of my volunteers, and she said, this is before we were even going to become a nonprofit. She said, I think we need to call this something so we can refer it to something. And I'm working, and I said, okay. She said, what about a soldier's hands? It started with Mark's hands. And I said, okay. And that was as much thought.
Yeah.
But it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the story.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. And it is that simple. Like, for myself, again, I'm a teacher. My students challenged me to help kids in the world that were suffering greater than they were. Right. And it's like, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to do it, but I just wanted to role model to them that we can do anything. And then it just takes off, and when it takes off and it happens, I think it happens organically. You take the first step and things start to come and people start to provide. And then, you make it work. And I commend you. I love the care packages.
Well, and when I talked about the puzzle, when you typically do a puzzle, you do it from the outside, right? You do the edges and then you work in. The soldier's hands has been the total opposite. We're just getting pieces, we're putting them together, and we're kind of working from the center out. And so we have to trust that next piece is going to fall into place.
How many, I'm a little bit clueless. Like, how many soldiers are in the field?
Deployed?
Yeah.
So a lot of people think we don't have soldiers out there because we're not in Afghanistan, right? That's what was getting so I just sent some, this year we've sent to Syria, we've sent to Kuwait, Africa. We're working on, there are lots of ships out there.
Yeah.
And we're working on the U.S. Nimitz. The USS Nimitz right now. There are 5,200 sailors.
Wow.
Ooh, wow.
I know. Now talk about keeping up at night, because that's about $100,000 project as well.
Yeah.
And it may take a while, but it will come to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you do the majority of your fundraising through personal donors or businesses or events, or is it a combination of every little thing?
It's a combination of every little thing. Yeah. So, we live in State College, where Penn State University is, and our volunteers are working the concession stand. So all the concessions are run by volunteers, and then those volunteers get the nonprofit rather gets 13% of the sales. So that's just a unique way to do that. I work with corporations who they're looking for opportunities for their employees to do something that's good.
Yeah.
Or their staff to do something that's good. And so that's been something that's been wonderful. It's such a win-win thing. And then they help to support the purchasing of the product, and then they do the assembly of it so that they can see the whole process. Grants.
Just looking through the pictures on your website, it's so nice to see the youth, like the children and the teenagers helping out, understanding what's needed.
Yes. So our kids, remember I said I needed to get back on that plane. So they were 1, 4, 7, and 9 at the time. And so that's what they have grown up with. And so they helped a lot in those early years. They're now working concession stands, at Penn State. But it's what I didn't realize is the ripple effect it would have. I get letters from the volunteers who will say, thank you for having an opportunity where I can participate.
Yeah. It's like that always at Help Heal Humanity too. I think because this has been my life for 20 years, I forget how impactful it is. And when you bring the volunteers out there and the volunteers just look at you and they're like, how much it's opened up their hearts, their mind, their spirits to something that they never really thought was a thing. And, and I always say, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this, is that we as the givers get more out of this than the receivers. Not that the receivers don't appreciate the gifts and the gratitude towards the work that we're doing for them, but to know that we were part of something that impacted somebody else positively, it leaves such a positive, feel good impression upon us that it makes you want to do it more and more and more. And that's why I wish the whole world would get a chance or an opportunity to actually put themselves in service. Because
so my belief is that people want to do that.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to. Like, they don't want to do what we're doing and run something.
Yeah.
Heck, I don't want to run it. But that's just what happened, right? And I wasn't going to not follow through on my promise. And then, so I think it's our responsibility to also give them the opportunity and show them how to do that and show them how, writing a letter, something that's really simple, that it's not costing any money. It's really not even costing a whole lot of time, but how that may be the only letter that soldier or sailor will receive.
And it's so impactful because they will put that letter and that, that fallen star at their bedside, and they know that they are not alone. And that's what I tell our volunteers always is like, just write a little card. We do Valentine's Day cards and we do Thanksgiving cards, and we just do cards when we go to hand out meals to people living in encampments and facing homelessness. And I've literally seen our park friends or homeless friends like attach that to their tent or keep that in their pocket because it's a message of hope, and a message of hope for individuals who have nothing. It means so much. And again, there's a little piece of the puzzle where people think it's just a letter or it's just a couple lines. But
they see people that care, and they're taking the time out to give them a card. So that's treasure to them. That's like holding to their heart.
I see it as a lifeline. People don't choose to be homeless. And I think also people join the armed forces for lots of different reasons. And not everyone, I'm naive, and I really was blown away when Mark said not everyone has someone that's going to take care of them. I'm like, what are you like, really?
And the part that alarms me the most is, again, I'm from Canada. I'm not saying that we don't have soldiers and we don't have, Navy and Marine, but this podcast that Barbara has put together for Help Heal Humanity and spotlighting other charities, I've seen quite a few American non-for-profits come on here doing something for the soldiers and the Army and the Navy. And to me, it blows my mind that these are the people who are standing up for our country. Like the gentleman said to you in the airplane, I'm not afraid of dying, right? And it's like these people are committed to giving up their lives so that we can have a better future. And yet nobody's caring for them. And nobody's giving them care packages. Like, to me, like, I want to be positive, but like, what is wrong with our world when we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for these people putting their lives on the lines? And now these people have absolutely nothing. And then furthermore, when they come back home from serving, what they have to deal with. It's just, I've been learning this through our podcast, and it's eye-opening to me. It's sad, but then again, I'm grateful to people like you who make sure that these people have voices, to make sure that these people are not being ignored, and giving them something as simple as a care package, literally changing their outlook on humanity.
You said that, yeah. I mean, it's so, like you said, Jatricia, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say that, just give you the honor, and even you and Serena, that, you see the need and you're doing something about it. It's so easy just to have ideas and thoughts and say, oh, this needs to be done. Oh, well. And then once it comes to the work and saying, okay, let's put something together, let's come together. Well, and then they start doing second guessing. But when you take it and you put it, I always say putting feet to it, like, moving in that area of the nonprofits that you create, that it gives awareness, first of all, to everybody. Just like Serena says, she didn't even really fathom that until she started seeing these nonprofits come on about, a lot of military helping them out. And I feel like when you're aware of something, there's no more excuses to a certain extent. It's like, okay, we made you aware. We showed you what's going on. We show you what the need is. Now you have to make that determination on how you want to fit in that category. So that's why I love this show so much, because not only help humanity showing what we do, but then also what you're doing, Trish, and others. Because some people come to me when they watch the show and they're like, I didn't know there was a nonprofit organization, or I didn't even know that we needed a nonprofit organization to do what Trish does. Yeah.
So Trish, how do, I mean, I know at one point we're going to give you, a minute all on your own to, and let our audience know. But I'm just curious, like, what are the best ways? Is it monetary value or donation? Is it actually sending products to a certain location? Like, what are the different ways that people can get involved in your charity, and what would be the way they go about doing that?
So the most cost-effective way is actually cash that we can then leverage to purchase this in bulk and get a reduced price. So the other thing is that it's not that they don't have some of these things, but it's not the things that you and I would want to use, right? Yeah. So we're sending really quality products, and that's they deserve the best, and I want to send the best. So money is really helpful. Write letters to share this with your schools and get your school age children. Veterans Day is coming up in November, and have this be a project and have their letters come to us. So the USS Nimitz is 5,200. That's 5,200 letters. Save flags. If you see retired flags, save them, and we will repurpose them. You started, Barbara, earlier talking about planting seeds. That's why I wanted to come onto this, is to plant the seeds, and that I know my faith is that something great will come from it. I don't know what it will be, and I don't know when it will be, but I know something good will happen. And so tell share this story, share our website, let other people know that this is what we're doing. And we really would like to start chapters in other parts of the country. We're kind of trying to figure that out. And who knows, maybe someone may say that's me. I'll start it in Minnesota.
Yes. Oh, that'd be one. Yeah. So what we do, Trish, is what we do is we kind of take ourselves down for like 30 seconds, and we just want you to give any last thoughts that you want them to know about your organization. I always keep, how they can contact you by your website, but just some thoughts that you want to give, and then we'll be back up to close out. So we'll be right back.
Okay. So when the group Mark's unit came back to Fort Dix, New Jersey, I had the opportunity to see all of the 177 people that were in that group that we sent care packages to. And they stood in line thanking me for the care packages. And I said, no, I should be thanking you, right? I should be thanking them for what they're doing on our behalf. And then Mark shared with me years later, I still keep in contact with him. He said to me that when we departed at the airport, and he went one way and I went another, he said he shared with his buddies that he'd met me and that I had promised to send him care packages for his whole unit. and they laughed at him. They thought he was a young, naive kid, and that, right, some lady that you met on an airplane is going to send you care packages. And he said on that Thanksgiving day, he said, they are not laughing anymore. And so the biggest takeaway, is that one, Mark was thinking about his military family more than his own fear. And me, I kept my commitment, right? So when we promise something, we never know who's on the other side of that, that's holding on to that, and that we have to keep our promise.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I can tell when you're saying it, it's all heart, it's all intention, it's all purity. And it's exactly what you said. You don't know who's on the opposite side of receiving that. And you made a promise and you committed to your promise. And if the whole world would commit to promises and carry them and see them through, I think we could change the entire world based on kindness, right?
Well, I tell you, I'm more hesitant on what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Right. We have to be that I've learned that through this process. You were talking about the things that you learned, earlier on. Don't say you're going to do it and not do it. Just don't say anything.
You're right. And I do this all the time when I'm either going out to encampments or when I'm going to Haiti or when I'm going and I'm taking volunteers. I always tell them, because sometimes you're in it. And when you're in it, you're in it and you just love everything. And then you make these promises. And I tell all the volunteers all the time, do not make a promise, because these people are depending on that promise in a way that you will never imagine. So
yes,
if you're going to say something, make sure you follow through. And better yet, don't say anything, because that way you're not going to let somebody down. Right. And it's, you're so true. I love your words of wisdom. I love your charity. You have a beautiful heart, a beautiful soul.
You, Barbara. Thank you.
Love you so much, Trish. Love what you're doing. Love you. Love your heart and soul. I mean, yes. So this is what I do at the end. Reach out to Trish. Help the organization. Yeah, I get on them.
Get on them.
And don't be well, I didn't know how to reach Trish. Well, you know me and you know Serena, so you can always come through us. But, as a whole, I look at us as a family, because we're all world changers. We're changing the world bit by bit, little by little. And it all amounts to what we're doing right now. So, Trish, you keep doing what you're doing, lady. You're doing a tremendous job. Even if no one says anything, I want you to believe that all the time. All the time. I tell Serena that all the time. I'm like, I don't care what anybody else says. You are awesome. You're doing a wonderful job. And people are, looking for you to say thank you for helping me, for helping the soldiers, for helping the children, anybody that's in the community. So thank you, Trish. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Good to meet both of you.
Nice to meet you.
And you're always welcome to come back. I always want to do that. Me and Serena always want to welcome back our nonprofits. If there's anything, that we can do on our end, just to help a little bit, you're welcome to come back and, talk about other things that you're doing in the organization.
Okay. Super. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see everybody next week. And remember, people need you, because not just what you're doing, but what you're doing for others. It is helping an individual in the world. Take care.
Today, over 1 billion children in the world live in poverty. At Help Heal Humanity, our goal is to connect children in need with people like you who want to make a difference. Our student sponsorship program helps provide children with the necessities for a healthy and successful start to life. When you sponsor a student, you're not only giving them the gift of education, you're giving them the best chance for a brighter future. 100% of your donation supports the tuition fees, uniforms, textbook, and school supplies needed to thrive in a safe and healthy learning environment. Sponsor a student now and be the catalyst for their brighter future.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to, again, my name is Barbara J. Beckley. I just wanted to come back on because me and Serena kind of tag teams with this. But, you know, you met a wonderful guests, Trish, with A Soldier's Hand, a non-organization. We bring on other nonprofits. But one of the biggest things that we want to make sure that you understand that as far as Help Heal Humanity, because that's what this whole program is about, what it created, we are doing a campaign. And we're in this campaign, not for us, not for the volunteers of the organization, not for even you. It's for the individual children that are in Haiti right now that is looking to say, when am I going to get my last meal? Or when am I going to get my education? Will it continue? And this is what we're working towards. It's a $100,000 campaign. I know that sounds a lot. You're like, wow, that's a lot of money. But I always tell people, when you can get one person to give maybe $20 or $50 or even $2, it adds up little by little, and we can get there. Now we can, you know, we can tell you statistics, we can tell you the numbers and everything. And, you know, a lot of people like to hear that. I get it. But the number one thing is, a child is not a statistic. A child didn't ask to come. A child is here just wanting to grow and wanting to be educated and wanting to know about the world and wanting food on the table. So when you see us talking about this campaign, and you see us put the link, which I was looking for right now, that's my fault. But when you put the link down so you can give, don't think about all the other stuff. Just think about, there's a child out there that's going to be so grateful for you just giving and just thinking about making that difference in their life. So we ask, and it's an ask, because we can't tell anybody anything, but we can ask. And we just ask you to just give towards this campaign. And believe me, that child, that individual person that's in Haiti right now will thank you every day, because now they're taking a spoon and they're able to scoop it up with some food and put it in their mouth. And on that point, they're able to go and say, you know what, I can have another year of going to school and understanding how they can move in the world as they grow. So with that said, please, we ask you nicely to give just whatever you can. Don't put dollar amount, whatever dollar amount you want. With that said, you'll see us again next Thursday, every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central time. And I always tell everybody else, figure out all the other time zones. Those are the main two that I always want to say. And with that said, we'll see you next week.